and then we'll get started. So, new challenge. I decided that my Sigma DP Merrill cameras were being underutilized, underused, and I kind of become disillusioned with the Sigma DP Merrills, and I think that's partly because I'd bought that SD Quattro, and whilst it's big, it is good and it delivers great results. So my DP Merrills had kind of fallen into disuse a little bit, really, and I've become disillusioned with them. However, I've decided that I will take a DP Merrill, one of them, as an everyday carry camera for a while and just see how I get on. Now, they're not an obvious everyday carry sort of camera. They have a number of pretty significant drawbacks, I suppose you could say they are, which are well documented elsewhere, and I won't go into in detail, but they only perform well at low ISO. So you can't. I don't use them above 200 ever. There's no IBIS. The battery life is hopeless. They're very slow to process individual images once you've taken an image. Obviously, they're fixed lens. And the workflow, once you've got the images onto your PC, is more complicated because you need to go through Sigma Photo Pro if you're using RAW, which I do. I don't bother with the JPEGs on these cameras. Perhaps I could give that a try, but I'm not inclined to, really, because they process so nicely when you do the work on the PC. But so there's a number of drawbacks, making them not very obvious. However, since I've got all three, the DP1, DP2 and DP3 Merrills, I think, I need to use them or move them on. So I'm going to try using them as an everyday carry. And I've been using mainly the DP2 Merrill. And I've picked that one as my mainstay everyday carry camera because it's the one that I used to historically get on least well with. I didn't really gel with that 45mm equivalent field of view lens. However, I'm gonna use it, and the idea is that it's a challenge for me to use it, get used to it, and get to love it. Well, let's see how we get on. Now, so far what I've found, I've been doing this for a few weeks now, and so far I've found that using one of these cameras as an everyday carry, it does change the way you see things, and the way you look at opportunities, I guess, because a lot of my photography is done when I'm out walking the dog now, and that can be first thing in the morning, and it can also be late in the afternoon, and the light is often quite poor anyway at those times, particularly as we're getting into the wintry months. So I tend to spend a lot of time now looking for support, trees, fences, railings, whatever, because without it, I'm going to struggle a bit. And I kind of have reached a mindset where if I see something I like, and I'm going to need, the light is such that I'm going to need some support. If the support isn't there, I just won't go ahead, because I know it'll be disappointing if I get back home, look at the PC results, and and they're poor. I'll be upset. I'll be disillusioned again. So I'm kind of becoming more choosy about what I take. Of course, I could take a tripod with me, but as I said, a lot of the time I'm walking the dog, so that's not going to work. The results so far, I have got some good results, I think, so I am pleased with how it's going. I can see now that, whilst I had become disillusioned with the Merrills, I can see now that there are some clear benefits, particularly to handling, because I can use these cameras pretty much one-handed, which, if you've got the dog's lead in the other hand, that's essential. So that's a good point. And being fixed lens, whilst I had thought that was probably a disadvantage, Of course, if you're working one-handed, you're not changing lenses anyway, so that's fine, you know. And it does make you see things slightly differently when you know what the field of view is that you're going to be using for photography. It you know, it just alters the way you see things slightly. So yeah, so far so good, and I'll report back again later because I think this challenge is worthwhile. I hope.